Okay, this is going to be a Twisted Metal 4 tier list video on Immortal rank. It's going to be a minimal glitch tier list for Immortal rank. And this was mainly going to be for a subscriber, 3PLC the Animal. So there's not going to be too much fancy editing. It's pretty much we're basically going to break down essentially, how do I actually articulate myself? The thing that I've learned over time from playing this game in Immortal rank, trying to have solid routes for each vehicle, they're mostly similar, but there's a few very important things you have to be aware of if you were to play this game, or if you have played it and you want to revisit it. Damage per second, or damage per minute, is basically almost negligent for half the vehicles because they almost do the same amount of damage output. So you have to take heavily into mind the speed, the steering, how much a vehicle gets bounced around, because there's a lot of things you have to manage within this game if you want to get a pretty good time and optimal damage output. Obviously your armor, how well you can cycle your weapons with tied into your special. That's very important because that actually puts one of the mainline vehicles that's not an unlock towards the top. So, alright, let's break it down. Okay, now this is the base tier list for Immortal rank minimal glitch runs. It's not a static list as other tier lists may be, because there's so many things you could potentially do in a game like this to chop down time, or there's certain situations where one vehicle is going to have an advantage over another. And a prime example of what I'll actually use is the construction vehicles. For example, Trashman can range from being okay to very good, and in some cases he can be a serious skull cracker. I've placed him right here, even though I probably should put him like right around here, or maybe here. And that's partially due to his steering. He has this very bizarre backswing. He gets bounced around a lot, which is actually very detrimental to his ability to basically, because he's a melee vehicle. But we're going to start directly from the bottom. That's just a prime example there. And another example would be the average to good. This can be dynamic here, but I'm placing this here because an objective tier list for this game would be extremely difficult. It would be, I'd almost have to become a cybernated Negroid, and I'm not doing that. I've seen that in Teen Titans when I've grown up. I'm good. So, the lowest of the low, Booty Waste, we have Captain Grimm, and we have the Joneses. I really want to put the Joneses directly at the bottom, but they're both interchangeable. Both of them are garbage. There are times where Mr. Grimm or Captain Grimm will have an advantage over the Joneses, and that's because of a slightly smaller hitbox. The thing with the Joneses is that they're special. It's homing. It does a little bit less damage overall than Captain Grimm's special, but the fact that it is homing, the likelihood of you just wasting shots is minimal. The biggest problem is their armor is almost the same. The Joneses can't turn worth a damn. Harley can accelerate worth a damn. Ain't nothing about it worth a damn. So in reality, for me, I want to put this all the way over here. Fuck that station wagon. The thing with Captain Grimm, he seems to get bounced around a little bit less, but that could be due to his hitbox and the nature of this game. I'm not exactly sure. I don't know the actual recharges on the special in terms of time, but if you're going for a death that's run on Immortal rank and you're going for an optimal time, these vehicles just, they can't do it. And now keep in mind, you got to take into account armor, the way your vehicle steers, how they weapon cycle with their special. I've already said this before, but how you aim, or how your vehicle steers, is how you aim in it. Like, it's very, very important. Like, some people say, wasn't that in all Twisted Metal? That's true, but this game is very heavily reliant on that to get proper damage output with missiles. And they don't really, the Joneses don't cut it whatsoever. Fuck that damn thing. Okay, so moving on to the average good. I should put, mediocre in there, because these are very dynamic in how good they can be used. But the purple drag queen right here, I'm putting that towards the bottom for the simple fact that its special is essentially a melee weapon. But the handling for this vehicle is very, very stiff. The armor is okay, but it's very stiff. Like, so how are you exactly in a game like this supposed to properly set yourself up if the steering on this vehicle is very stiff? The acceleration is nice, but everything about the stats for how you drive this thing almost defeats its special, because when you think about it, the Exterminator here, what is this vehicle's name? Goggle Eyes. They're very similar in terms of special, but Goggle Eyes' special tends to actually do a bit more damage quickly. I don't know why, but its hitbox is weird, so sometimes you feel like you're hitting an enemy, but you're doing very minimal damage. This you can clearly see because it's almost, the flames are almost like sprites in this game. But you will sometimes have a difficult time with Drag Queen simply because of the way you steer. You're not getting good damage output sometimes, or you tend to oversteer when you want to hit the handbrake and kind of, turn and joust. So that's probably why that's more towards the bottom of the average vehicles. Now, some people might say, well, shouldn't Microblast be lower? Sometimes Microblast will actually get bumped up a few ranks because of survivability. Microblast is very hard to hit, has good acceleration. The steering is very zippy. That's somewhat of a double-edged sword in this game, but if you can get used to it, you're going to be able to do much more damage output because of, like I said before, the steering in this game is extremely important to get shots off with missiles. And Microblast has that twitchy type of steering, which is good for it because this is basically a twitch-based third-person arena shooter in vehicles. That's really what it is. So this is what I'm talking about when it comes to the tier list being dynamic. Now I'm going to put this back in order. Quattro has a problem with survivability. If you're trying to go for a good time, get good damage output, but that also could be the playstyle, because I did do some of these off screen to update the times, but I never uploaded the videos. So never look at the time that you get as an absolute objective fact unless you are in fact a cybernated bot that's just built to do TAS kind of stuff. The reason he's around here, even though he can fluctuate here and fluctuate here, is because his special requires him to get dangerously close to death. He ain't got no damn armor. He's not good at staying in fights whatsoever. Now, he's got speed. He can kind of get in and get out. But in terms of using his special in combination with weapon cycling, his special tends to knock enemies away. And when you're doing weapon cycling in this game, you often want to keep enemies in a very fixed space. So, like I said, sometimes he can actually get bumped up a few ranks because when you actually do connect with his special and you do it correctly, you can actually get really good damage output. So I might actually want to place him more around here and have Pizza Boy behind him. Now some people are going to look at that and be like, oh, why are you doing my boy Pizza Boy like that? Well, fuck your boy Pizza Boy. Good vehicle, actually. Very solid. Like, he's actually really good. He was one of the only vehicles that I actually managed to get an exit on my first try. As in, the moment I picked him, I did not die at all, which is very rare even for a game like this on Immortal Rank. Because Immortal Rank's biggest issue is getting stun locked, and just overall spam in general. Sometimes if you want to get really good times and damage output, you go kamikaze style. Even with the shield, sometimes these computer players, they somewhat have a hive mind intelligence. Even though they fight each other, they're usually trying to work their way towards you if they have good health. Even though they will attack each other and get distracted and jerk off in the corner, they usually try to work their way towards you. So sometimes lacking in armor and he's not easy to hit, but he's not hard to hit. That can be a disadvantage for him. His special doesn't seem to really recharge that fast, but it's basically a more balanced version of Spectre's Ghost Missile. Fuck that goddamn weapon in Twisted Metal 2. So again, sometimes he can go here, sometimes he can go here, but for the most part, I'd probably put him smack dab in the middle for the average to good little list here. Goggle Eyes, I stand corrected, because when I did the video that I have uploaded, I've criticized this goddamn goofy thing for being a pile of garbage, like, you know, as in down here, but he's not. Once you really get used to him, he's a better drag queen. There's a double-edged sword with the physics in this game when it comes to vehicles getting bounced around. And for me personally, I find that to be fairly frustrating. But the other end of that sword is that on Immortal rank, because of how much they can spam, it often knocks you out of the way of danger, which can be really good because his armor's okay. It's not really that good, but it's okay enough. And his special weapon is really good with weapon cycling. If you don't know what I mean by weapon cycling, that's when you essentially, spam the fire button for shooting a missile, a mortar, and then you just cycle through your weapons. You keep doing that, that can fire off a whole bunch of shots. Don't be fooled. You can fire off everything in your inventory extremely quickly, but look at the damage output you're doing. Sometimes I see people who play this game, when they do weapon cycle, they're just wasting ammunition. I've done it before too. So don't be fooled by the visuals and the sound effects of everything wicked coming from your ass. Because sometimes you ain't shitting on nobody, you just passing gas. So he's actually pretty decent. General Warthog, I put him here partially due to the fact that he has a on-demand remote bomb and his armor. His armor comes in handy for how sluggish he is, but there are times where I'd actually put him literally right here. There are situations where it will just be frustrating to drive. He will get stuck on shit, and then you get stun locked because he's such a wide, he's not flat, but he kind of has that wide, pressed in hitbox. And in some cases, when you're trying to do certain tricks, like put a mine down and you want to go onto that mine and jump, he can be a little finicky. But for the most part, he's usually right around here. But the amount of damage output that he can dish out and how much damage he can take, it'll usually put him right around here. Now, Meter Maid is the same thing with General Warthog. I put them both towards the top of the average bracket, but they can actually fluctuate. The thing with Meter Maid is extremely good with crowd control. Because they're special, I think you start off with 5 or 6 of them for some crazy ass reason, and the recharge rate isn't really that bad. So technically, even though she doesn't have the best acceleration, doesn't have a good top speed, and has low armor, her special obviously gives you health. She's hard to hit, and you can disorient your opponents. So sometimes she will actually go from being here to all the way in the very good category. That's how situationally good Meter Maid can be. So Trashman, I find Trashman to be overrated. I understand why he's rated very highly because of the ability to weapon cycle. The thing is, his steering is very bizarre. He wants to drift a lot. I don't know why they want to make a trash vehicle drift a lot. That don't even make no goddamn sense. But this is Twisted Metal 4. So there's not much I really want to say about Trashman, but compared to, let's say, Augur or Crusher, because Crusher's actually my favorite. That's my personal favorite. When it comes to weapon cycling, because Trashman and Super Slam are obviously they're smashing you up and down. They don't keep you pinned on the horizontal plane, so you're going vertical, up and down, which kind of it sometimes goes against you as the player when you're weapon cycling because you waste too much ammunition. And in some cases, depending on where your input meters at, the battery for the inputs, freeze, jump, and whatnot, sometimes you damage yourself a little too much. His armor's good, but it's not as good as the obvious boss construction vehicle. So he sometimes will range from being here, in some cases here, but I put him here for personal reasons. Because, like I said before, making an objective tier list for this kind of game is insane. Orbital, even though on my playlist for Immortal rank, he doesn't have the best time that I could probably get him to. His special is it's basically a utility. It's augmented utility because it don't do really any damage. But it can kind of, if you shoot it right and shoot it in certain positions, especially pinning them up against the wall, weapon cycling with this guy and using auto lob is great. Now, the difference between Orbital special and I forget this, Mr. Zombie special. Mr. Zombie's special, it's more dense. With Orbital special, you can actually get out of it fairly easily, or you can kind of rotate around it so that if someone shoots an auto lob at you, it's not going to do absolute full-blown damage like it can with Mr. Zombie. Once you're caught in the Mr. Zombie special and you get directly towards the center of mass, he's gonna kick that ass. Orbital's very fast, obviously. His steering is something to get used to, but I think that's intentionally done on purpose. You wouldn't want his steering to be, very good, very tight, because he's already kind of broken to begin with when you really think about it. So there are times where you can place him on very good. I wouldn't say he's a skull cracker because his special doesn't do much damage at all, and his armor is weak. But that's probably what balances him out, that his armor is fairly weak. Now, Super Axel. I'd say a Super Axel is underrated for some people because his steering, I don't know if he's really underrated. I don't pay too much attention to everything around me when it comes to, But his upside, he's got a shit ton of armor. So you can get stun locked, and it's not going to scare you. You're not going to be concerned about dying with this guy. Once you know how to play this game, death is very minimal, if at all, with him. Because I think I got a run. I don't think I've ever died with him at all. That's just how good his armor is and how careless you can somewhat be with him. His special is basically a better version of Quattro special, and it lights them on fire as well. Toss into the fact that he's got good acceleration. His turbo speed is out. It was ridiculous, and the problem is his steering. Like I said before, steering ties into how you can aim, and sometimes when you're aiming and reversing, you can't do shit with this guy at all. That's like his biggest weakness. So I'd probably place him here for the most part, and I probably wouldn't really move him around too much at all. Maybe sometimes he can be better than Calypso. And sometimes better than, what is this vehicle called again? I can't remember. But yeah, I'd probably place him more around here. Maybe switch him with Calypso on occasion. Calypso, believe it or not, sometimes Calypso is here to a skull cracker because something about his steering. His steering actually isn't really that bad. For having the armor that he does and having that damn special that he does, you have to get to a certain speed. I think that's the one thing I remember about playing Calypso. His acceleration and his base steering isn't too good until you get to around 70 miles an hour. Usually around there, you can actually turn corners really well, especially when you tap the handbrake. So his weakness supposedly is that he's wide and his steering ain't too good. Don't fall for that. Don't believe in that. Trust me, once you really learn how to really move this thing, you can blow up the whole damn world with him sometimes. So, I can't. RC car. It's crazy how I don't remember such a generic name. RC car, underrated. I always see people tend to rate RC car kind of low, medium, that his special is hard to shoot. I can't fully disagree with the fact that his special is hard to hit. But it's really not that hard. Basically get freeze motes. If you get a freeze mote, put on the shield if you have to, and freeze somebody, there's a basic distance where you stand at, and you just shoot the laser. The thing about the laser is the fact that it's really good with weapon cycling, because it doesn't knock anybody anywhere. You get to the right distance, you can literally shoot the laser, switch between a fire, homing missile, and go back right to the laser, shoot that again. And then finish it off with another cycle and then hit with a power missile. He can do pretty good damage output. He's got really solid armor. He's hard to hit. He's got really good speed. So don't underestimate this thing. It can be hard. It's one of those vehicles that's hard to use, but when you actually learn how to use it, it's an underestimated vehicle for a boss vehicle. So yeah. And then we get here. Now the thing with Super Slam, a lot of things about him are absolute garbage. Big hitbox. The thing is, believe it or not, his steering is smooth. His acceleration is smooth. The thing is, he's slow as a goddamn cinder block. He's the size of, I don't know. He's just big. But because he has an extreme amount of armor, and his special is essentially just like Trash Man's, well, just think about that. If you can perch yourself in certain positions, if you know the pathing of the computer players, There's no way they're gonna run right into you. So it's just a matter of finding the zones and the spots where he can basically be his best. He's a very defensive style kind of vehicle, but he does his job very well. The thing is though, sometimes he goes from being a skull cracker down to here. So he's one of the few vehicles on this tier list where I kind of keep him in the same spot, but push him down below. Okay, so let's go ahead and put him right back there. Crusher and Augur, very similar. The thing is, theoretically, Super Augur should be better than him because Super Augur has slightly better acceleration, better armor, and better speed. For some bizarre reason though, if you were to play this game and you really test out both of these vehicles right here, and you do the weapon cycling glitch, you tend to kill people faster with Crusher. I really want to put Crusher above Super Augur, and if you do watch my playlist of Immortal Rank runs, if you're looking at just the time alone, technically Super Crusher would be quite literally right here. But I don't, like I said before, this is not one of those objective tier lists, it's a dynamic tier list. Sometimes he can be the absolute skull cracker. Don't be fooled. Don't let anyone fool you and say that he's all right. No, trust me. This motherfucker's really good. But I'd place them right around here, and I'd actually move Moonbuggy behind them sometimes. Now the reason why Moonbuggy's there is because he's not too situational. That's kind of the only reason. Good acceleration, good armor, good steering. His special is a fire and forget weapon for the most part, and you can essentially crowd control enemies. So the biggest issue with his machine, he should probably be, he fluctuates between being here and being over here. Because the thing with his special is weapon cycling isn't always the best. Oddly enough, auto lob can work really well, but it's finicky because auto lob, if an enemy's airborne and they stay airborne, auto lob mortars, they actually kind of just go into this floating state and they actually try to go upwards and hit them. They tend to do their most damage that way. I don't know why, but that's just the crazy nature of this game. Moonbuggy, it would actually probably work best with proximity mines and remote bombs. If you can actually find about 2 or 3 vehicles, shoot the special towards a wall and it drags them towards it, put the shield on, and drop down remote bombs and proximity mines, he can be really devastating. His armor is really good, acceleration solid, everything about this vehicle is good, but he's clunky because of his size. And everyone knows in this game, you're gonna get caught on shit a lot. Now, Mr. Zombie. This vehicle, out of the main lineup, there's no contest. Calypso, you can take a back fucking seat. You might as well give him the goddamn ring. Because this vehicle is devastating. His special doesn't take too long to recharge. His special tied in with weapon spam, or the weapon cycling, especially auto lob, absolutely devastating. As I've said before about Orbital, their specials are similar in the sense that they kind of pull you towards the center of mass. When you get towards this guy's center of mass, he's obliterating that ass. He's got smooth steering. Everything about his stats is just good, solid. His special tied in with the weapon cycle makes him an absolute skull cracker. And I would actually say that he can be put here. Theoretically, he can be put here. But realistically, in my experience, he will fluctuate between being right here, here, and sometimes over here. But I'm putting him here for a very good reason. Minion, and many people are going to disagree with this, because Minion I'm putting here, Minion is fast as shit. Maneuverable, he's got really good armor. You have to learn how to use his special. There's a certain sweet spot in where you want to position yourself to shoot it at a target. The thing is, he's basically, it's a free freeze. When you tie in weapon cycling and the fact that once you learn where to position yourself with Minion, the motherfucker's fast as hell. Good acceleration, good steering. His special does pretty solid damage output. It freezes the opponent. And he gets bounced around, which is, like I said, it's a double-edged sword. It's a good thing and a bad thing. But for the most part, it's not really a problem with this guy. I mean, you can get in and out of any situation you want. You shouldn't be scared to get stun locked because, I mean, Minion, there's a way to shoot his special. Don't ever aim directly at a target. Always actually have yourself at I'd say around a 15-degree angle to the left or the right. Never aim directly at them unless you're in a really good position where you just can't miss. That's what I've learned with using him. Super Thumper, no contest out of all the bosses. Because he is a melee vehicle, even though he can't kill as quickly as the construction vehicles, once you've got someone pinned with this guy, the thing is with him, just don't shoot a power missile or anything like that. His super flame is absolutely insane. And if you know how to drive this guy and know what to do in this game, you're gonna bring that damn pain. For real. Like, I mean, I got a 27-minute time with this guy. I was going for sub 30. 27 minutes is fantastic. Super Thumper is the shit. I don't need to say much about Happy Clownface over here. Everyone knows who's played this game or even seen this game. Him. That's it. Him. Okay. So this is Twisted Metal 4 tier list. Now, like I said, there's not going to be any fancy editing. You're simply just going to listen to this. You can probably do some stuff in the background. That's what I would have recommended. I probably should put a caption in the beginning of the video. Do something in the background. There's no game. I'm not going to show you any gameplay. I'm not going to do all that fancy stuff because, like I said before, I'm trying to be as close to objective as possible making this tier list. And anyone who's going to watch or listen to this video, they've probably seen my gameplay already. The gameplay that I provide speaks for itself. And there's already other tier lists. If you want some other entertainment and editing skills, you know, watch someone like Vicarious Nick Gaming, Kong Do, or some other people who are prominent in the Twisted Metal Federation community. Me, I'm not about that. I don't got time for that. Well, I do have time for that, but I don't feel like doing all that for a tier list. The gameplay speaks for itself. The way in which I describe things, it speaks for itself. And this was mainly for a subscriber who's been around for who knows long. And I really appreciate it for anyone who's made it this far. And that particular subscriber who I mentioned in the beginning of the video. Thank you very much. This has been Mr.BP-D. And I thank thee because I assume that you made it to the end to listen to me. Take it easy.